church, and last night, Brother Guy called, said his mom had passed away, and asked me if I would get up here, and he said, just do whatever the Lord wants you to do. And I'm like, well, I guess I have to do it, even though this is uncomfortable. It's kind of one of his things. He says you got to get uncomfortable every now and then. So, yeah, right now I'm pretty uncomfortable. So, so if we would, Lemon, will you start us off in prayer, please? All right, well, I'm going to come and just kind of give you all my testimony tonight. But before I started with the testimony, I want to look at a couple of Bible verses that talks about testimonies. And one of them is in John 4:39, where it says, "Many of the Samaritans from the town believed in him because of the woman's testimony, and he told me everything I ever did." So that was part of that testimony is evangelism, which is the personal testimony that makes the gospel relatable and authentic and drawing others to faith. And so me being up here is just kind of hopefully somebody can relate, draw them closer, help them get in their fellowship with God just a little bit better than where they're at. So I'm just going to start, there's my notes, with my journey, which mine started early because my mom drug us to church. We was always there. It seemed like I went to school at the same place that I went to church, so it's almost like I never left. It's like school was over, she was getting off work, I might have to go to the daycare, then she's showing up, and then we're doing something at the church. All the time there. And and I got baptized early. I'm going to say around the age of 10. I just don't know the exact age that I was when I was baptized. I just know I was young. And I can remember going down in front, and my mom tells me, because I just can't remember everything, she's like, well, you just went down there. We didn't even know you were going. So I guess I was just sitting there that day, and, being in Bible school, being in all that, I guess it just hit me, and I went down there. And so then I was baptized, stayed in church because my mom was taking me all the time. And as a teenager, I was there and it was always just a heavy burden on me, like, what should I be doing? What should I be doing? And I went up and I was told our youth pastor at the time, I'm like, I feel like God's called me to do something. Well, at that point, it just went crazy. Like all of a sudden, I'm supposed to be a preacher. And so it was like a whole lot of weight just rushed at me at one time. And it was really, really scary to be a teenager and be put in that position where that's really not what you were talking about. I don't think it was like I was called to be a preacher, but everybody that heard that, of course, now here I am a preacher. And so that was really, because I knew that I wasn't ready, and a lot of things probably that's not what I was probably right now, what I'm doing right here is what he was talking about I was probably called to do. So, anyways, that happens, and it's funny because if anybody looked at the Facebook post, it's put up there, my sister gets on there, and she's like, oh, I remember you as a teenager, and when you were talking about being a preacher, and I was like, I never said that, so here it comes again, it's starting to come again. I'm like, I didn't say that. But as a teenager, and, I had my dad, which my parents were split, so with my dad, I'd go hunting and fishing. And then my mom, I was always at church. So I had the church and hunting and fishing, and it was like every other weekend I was hunting and fishing, and I was back at church. And sometimes I didn't want to go hunting and fishing, I'd just do the church thing more than the hunting and fishing. But I still love hunting and fishing to this day. But it's just funny how God works, because just being with my mom mainly is the one that really gave me the best instructions. And it doesn't matter what you would ever come to her about. You could be like, hey, this guy wants to fight me at school, whatever, and she's just pray about it. Everything was always just pray about it. And so, I almost just wanted to hit a recorder. Hey, Mom, okay, just pray about it, because that's what I was going to hear. But now I get it. The older you get, the more you get it, because really, that's pretty much going to solve it, most of your issues, if you just really go to prayer about it. It really does. And growing up as a teenager in a poor neighborhood that I was in, I had a lot of friends in the neighborhood, and then I also had a lot of my church and school friends. But all the friends in the neighborhood, you could just look out and you can see them, and they would start going other places. And I'm right there. I'm right there with them. And I don't know, it's not like if I went, I would have gotten in trouble with Mom that much. Yeah, she would have been mad at me and all that, but it's not like I had to worry about getting beat or anything. But I just think it was her, and with the prayer, just keeping that thumb, God just kept that thumb and just kept the thing around me, just to keep me out of all of that. So, pretty blessed. Anyways, so then, after my teenage years, I get married, and I have 2 kids, Michael and Kinsey. And, I go through a divorce, and I'm raising them, doing the best I can. And not a really great job, because, at the time, I'm like, I was in church all the time. I'm not going to make my kids go to church all the time. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to kind of let them. And the whole thing was, no, Chris wants to go do this. He wants to go hunt and fish. He wants to go do this. But I have all the excuses bringing to me why I'm not staying in church somewhere. Now, I did go to church, but I just wasn't, dedicated. So, anyways, anybody listening that's thinking the same process where, I want my kids to have that free choice. No, you need to have them in church. It'll be a lot easier. And all right, back to when I was little, and I go up there to get baptized, I see them all crying, right? I look over them, like my sisters and everybody, they're crying. I'm like, oh, man. So now I get it, because I think about them too. And, man, just for God to keep that hand on me and to give them enough guidance to walk up here and to get saved. I don't know, you can't beat that feeling. You just can't. You see people cry at football games and basketball games when they win. It's not the same. It's not the same. And even like the lady that come up here with her daughter last Sunday, I'm back there, oh gosh, it just gets me. But anyways, so going through all that, it leads me to Amy getting married and having 2 more kids. And yeah, they're my kids. I'm not the grandparent. I'm actually the dad. So, I don't want people thinking I'm the granddaddy walking around with the 2 little ones. But and then that's my brother. It's not my dad, Papa Smurf. So so just to get all that straight, so as people see us. But anyway, I come to Red Banks and I meet a lot of the guys here, and I'm like, this is a good place, you know. I'm like, I feel at home here. And then I start going, I want to do, why don't we have a men's fishing trip? I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to set it up. I'm like going to the deacons, hey, why don't we have a men's fishing trip? And they're like, yeah, it sounds good. Why don't you do it? And I'm like, that's not really what I was trying to do. I was trying to get y'all to do it. I just wanted to come go fishing. And, people come up to me and they're like, well, anyway, I did it, and people enjoyed it, and they come up to me like, hey, and it wasn't me. It was God, because it was Elliston. There was an old man there that would set the fishing trip up. I had no idea how to do it. So it's just the way things work out. And so I start doing stuff like that and setting the fishing trip up, and I just, I'm out there, and I talk to everybody, and I, bug everybody and everything else. And then they come up to me one day, Brother Guy does, he says, you know what? I think we're at a business meeting or something, and he says, we want Chris to be the men's minister leader, and that's what's on the Facebook. And I'm like, all right, because I'm not going to turn down anything that's just people want me to do. It's just hard to just turn it down when I feel like it's God saying, hey, you got to do this, So I said, okay, I'll do it. So I've been, and I might not do the best of the job for everybody that's here, But, I'm just saying, if there's a man here and they say, hey, why don't we come to me, and I'll try to make it happen, but I try to do the best I can with that. And Brotherhood Breakfast is this Sunday, 7:30. But anyways, so it just comes on to saying, hey, you want to do this. And then as I'm going along and I'm just doing a little bit of the men's ministry, just putting pieces together and just trying to make things come together, we start, doing devotions and stuff. And that's what I told the guys at the last, maybe it was one before last, because the last one, Greg, I told him my phone was dead, so he did the devotion, but I did the one before that. So, so anyways, when I was doing that one, and we were talking about pushing each other, and so I felt like I had to do it, because I always say, hey, Lemmy, you're going to do the devotion, or hey, John Wood, you're going to do the devotion. So I'm like, if I'm going to do this, and they're trusting me with having, the men's ministry and doing things with it, then I should be doing the devotion, or at least some of them. I should be talking some. So I did, and I guess I had to open my mouth and start talking about the Christian men need to try to push each other and get them out of their comfort zone, push them to do better, and now I'm up here. So anyway, I'm thankful, and I'm glad I've been given this opportunity. I knew that I didn't have a whole lot to say. I knew I was going to say it fast because I'm nervous. And I knew that I, wanted to try to get my point across, and I hope that it come across, and somebody can benefit from it. And as I finish my part, I would like to just kind of challenge everybody that's listening, that's here, that in the days coming, talking about your testimony, it's also going out and just telling people, right? And it's 4 words. And I did it the other day with this kid I was hunting with. I met him. I don't really know him that well. And we're hunting, and we're riding in the side-by-side, and we're looking for his deer. He says, it's over here. And we stop. I said, okay. I said, before we get out, I got to ask you something. And I just asked him, I said, do you know Jesus? And he said, yes, I'm a Christian. I said, well, good deal. So we went from there. But it's like 4 words. It takes just a second to say them. So I just hope that we just ask somebody. Anybody? Because I'm through. So anybody want to say anything? Go ahead. and that is good. I mean, that's that's all it takes is just to talk to people, and you just never know where it's going to lead. Right, and that's what we all should be doing. Right, so what we all should be doing. Right, and I'm guilty. And most of the time, I'm busy at work and I'm doing my thing, and I just don't make time for God, and but you just sometimes got to stop and do that. You just do, and I've got to get better at it. I got to get better at being up here talking. It's tough. It's real tough. You know, I mean, Roger joined the choir. He's like, here's the mic. I'm like, man, that's tough. Come up here and sing. It's a big step, but I just hope y'all just pray for me and that I can continue to grow and be more comfortable up here. It hadn't been too bad. I didn't pass out. I thought I might pass out. Oh goodness. Right. Right. Exactly. And I mean that's what it did for me too. From the time we first started coming till right now standing here. I mean it's like I mean every year there's something new. You know. I mean something happens and I've been pushed out of my comfort zone a plenty being here. You just do. Just things happen. And the play was really bad when I had to do the play. That was pretty tough. Yeah, I know. That's what I keep hearing. So it will. Oh, now we're getting deep. You can. You can. I mean, well, it is, and just like being out at the upwards fields and just doing if I'm refing, if I'm doing anything, then I hear about a kid down here at this church getting baptized because it was at the upwards and they got involved and all that. Well, then I feel like all of us that was doing the upwards was a part of that kid making, getting there. Because, so say it would happen without it. Just like me even being in the play, I dreaded it every night. And I mean, I'm sweating up here. But at the end, when all the people are coming up front and we have everybody that's getting saved or rededicating their lives and doing all that, and then you just sit back and you're like, well, I guess it was worth it, right? You know? Hmm. Well, it's exactly what they need to be. It's exactly where they need to be. Oh, well, that's uh, Justin's not in here, but that's Brother Dan, and he was our youth minister, and he's the one that and it was weird because you have your church group, and all of a sudden Brother Dan comes, and I mean he's from East Tennessee. He's a country guy, and he's out getting it, right? And next thing you know, you've got all these neighborhood kids coming, and you've got, you know, different races coming and everything. And, and it was shocking kind of to me because I was just used to our little group, right? I'm used to and then all of a sudden we get a bunch coming in, which I knew some of them because I lived in the neighborhood, but some of them I had no clue, and that just kept us in a safe zone being at that church. And I mean, he was there and he would open the gym up like 3 nights a week, and then he still did Wednesday. And I mean, he would always have the gym open or have something for us to be involved in instead of being out in the street, even for all the neighborhood kids to be involved in. And that's just really I mean, my mom, my older brothers and sisters, and all that really helped me. And I've had a couple friends that when they got up and got baptized at that church, they would say, well, I'd like to thank Miss Bagwell and the Bagwell family. And, and that's just from being there and having things to do for the youth. And even as they get to the young adult age, because, once you get kicked out of the youth and you're a young adult, you really don't, it's a mess, because then you're trying to find your way for real then. And I've got two sitting back there, which are doing better. I mean, they're there, and I couldn't be prouder of them too, and I know that the Lord will keep on them, and they'll be where they need to be one day, in life and everything. They'll find it out. Right, and you don't. Sometimes you don't even know you're doing it. Just like you just don't. Just like Clint, I got a buddy that comes up here and helps in Upwards. He was in the neighborhood, and just from him being around our family and being at the church, because he was just a neighborhood kid, and if it wouldn't have been for the church, he would have probably been like one of my best friends. I mean, he got baptized, was saved, but as we're going along, man, he just kept taking that path the wrong way, and then about 5 years ago or something, he hung himself in prison. And he was like one of my best friends and was always with us. But, that's what I'm saying, that I can't tell you how many times that me and that guy would be in the same car going to do the same thing. And what kept me, I mean, you just got to know that was just that. Huh? Oh, gosh. Here it goes. She put it on Facebook. Yeah. Right. She did put it on Facebook. You read it? I know. Anybody else? Anything? You're welcome. Hope I wasn't too terribly bad. All right. Well, Greg, you want to dismiss us?